Hello everyone and welcome to this build guide by Hermano Eurozo. Today we're going to be looking at a build for Diablo 4. We're going to look at the Necromancer, and what a lot of people don't seem to understand is that people who play Necromancer want to play Necromancer. Right, so they don't only want to throw out Bone Spears all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bone Spear is great, but the minions are cool. There's a lot of cool opportunities to get in there. And today we're going to take a look at two different versions. So one for leveling. As you know, today the game has officially launched. So we're going to look at a build for leveling to get up to speed. And then later on, I've got a bit of a crazy option that you can do to level up your build and see that you get a lot of more DPS out of it. In return for a little bit less convenience to play, and it's going to be a little more dangerous. But let's dive into it. We're going to start off with our basic, with our generator. Either of these are all good. I went with Reap during leveling. It's pretty good because you get the damage reduction, and then you can get the option here to get some more corpses. And corpses are going to be important. So, during leveling, first couple of levels, I of course picked two, then I went with a spender, but I'm going to talk through the guide one by one today. Hey, later on I went for the Bone Spear. The Bone Spear itself is pretty good because of the vulnerable that it applies. Make sure to get the vulnerable here. One thing that we are going to take here as well is the Hued Flesh. So this is not a level by level guide, right? So I'm going to hit the topics. Right, next up you probably want to get something from over here. But first off, we're going to dive into the Hued Flesh to get some drops on corpses. You want corpses. Corpses are going to be very good for this build because they're going to improve our survivability by a lot. So we're going to take some Hued Flesh. We'll also get the Skeleton Warrior Mastery. We're going to get a lot of skeletons. We want to boost them. We want to get them as tanky as possible. We want to get them in a good shape. So just take the mastery here. This leads us to a couple of more things. We'll get back to these later. Actually consuming them, generating some essence is going to be good for us as well. But for now, let's proceed. And we're going to get the Skeletal Mage Mastery. Skeletal Mages are going to be very good for us in the long run. But one thing that we're also going to take is the Decrepify Curse. And we want to get this one, where we get the active cooldown reduction, but also the stun chance. And what we're going to see is that we're going to decrepify a lot of our enemies, and our mages and our skeletons, they have a rather large lucky hit chance. So they are going to apply a lot of stuns on our enemies, which is going to be particularly good for bosses. Where you see the gray bar at the top, and it would fill up rather quickly. And then once they're stunned, they're going to drop down on the ground, and then the blue bar decreases again. What we have seen during our leveling, so we've completed the campaign on World Tier 2, is that most bosses we would stun them at least twice, and then we would have taken them down already, which is like very quick. It helps us a lot. So I would highly recommend this one. And then of course the reducing active cooldowns is always nice to get lower cooldowns. For now, one thing that we're going to take a look at is the Necrotic Carapace. This one is like really good since we're going to start forming an insane amount of corpses, and they're going to fortify us by a lot. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic. What I also did during leveling was something that you may want to take a look at is I got Blood Mist during leveling initially. It's just get out of the jail safe quickly button, but I'll offer some alternatives for now. For now, let's say that we just want to see that we want to generate consuming corpses generate some essence. We're going to take more of these later, but especially with the Bone Spear, you can also take more levels in Bone Spear at this stage for some more damage, for example. That's going to be really good. Once we're here, this is where we're gonna take a lot. So during leveling, I picked up Army of the Dead, upgraded it. Of course, we're going to get the Golem by this stage, so we're going to also boost the Golem. These ones are just a definite pick, so we want to make sure that we can heal our skeletons, our mages, give them some attack speed, which is rather nice. Once we can unlock Callan's Edict. That's going to be really helpful for that large boost in attack speed, which is going to lead to a lot more damage. Well, we will be able to unlock this with the Reapers and the Frost Mages that we're going to take. So basically, just to finish this off, this one is also very good, that they cannot lose more than 30% of their maximum life per hit. Keeps them alive a lot more often. With the improved healing, that's going to be really good. And also, this one is very good for the damage for the mages, especially in the beginning. Okay, once we're leveling up and we're getting into this range, right, where we already have a lot of skill points, I want to offer some more a more skill point intensive version of this build, but it opens up a lot more possibilities as well. One thing is actually, this one's also pretty good, the increased damage to cursed enemies. This is something that you could definitely consider taking as well. But if we go in game, this is where we see that I have grown from what I've just showed you. This is like a basic build where you work with Reap and then grow from there, right? And it's good because of the, like I mentioned before, the Decrepify curse. This gives a lot of damage reduction. I think the base damage reduction is like 20%. Then of course we have Reap, which also gives the 15% damage reduction, which helps a lot. Well, of course we boost our minions with the different skills. But one thing that I have grown to, and I've just finished the main campaign, I'm not going to show the map or anything, don't worry, I don't want to give any spoilers. But what you see here is I've taken 2 points in Reap to get to the next tree, but then I've not taken it. So I'm not using Reap, I'm not using a generator here. And of course I've still taken the Bone Spear. I'm going to level up this up a little bit more. Just still going to get that hued flesh for all the corpses it's going to generate, and all the corpses are going to get us an insane amount of survivability with all this Fortify. Of course we still boosted the Skeletal Warrior Mastery, got the generating of Essence, got a little bit more damage after consuming corpse. But now what I've done is I've swapped out a couple of the skill points I showed you before to also enable Corpse Explosion. So if you look at my bar, we're gonna see that I have Corpse Explosion, that I have Bone Spear, and then I of course have the Golem itself, Decrepify like I talked about, Bone Storm, which I'm gonna show a little bit later. I switched the ultimates from Army of the Dead to Bone Storm, since we're using the Golem now way more often. And then of course the Summon skill, because this of course still is a minion build. And what I've done is I've taken the Corpse Explosion with the Blighted Corpse Explosion, which makes sure that the skill becomes a Darkness skill, and this is very important. We've taken up a second way of building right now into our build, which is the Darkness skills. So this is still Decrepify, like I said, with the chance to reduce cooldowns, with the chance to apply the stuns. It's amazing. But over here I've made some changes. Of course we're still taking the Fortify, but I'm also taking the Darkness abilities from here. So I've taken 1 point here for now. Of course I'm gonna boost all of this once I get like a little bit higher level. I don't have all the Renown skill points yet. I've just completed the campaign and wanted to share my thoughts on how I've played and what's gonna be very helpful for you. So we have the movement speed here. We have the chance to stun. So again, we are introducing another way to stun. This is going to be really helpful, where your mages are going to be able to stun based on the Decrepify. Also, Darkness is going to help a lot, and I'll show you later, because you want to get like a big target, like a boss, and it's going to be generating all the corpses all the time, and you keep exploding them. That's why I also have the left mouse button. Then we have the CCing and the damage increase for Darkness when they are affected with a Darkness skill. And then, of course, that we do more damage with our Darkness skills if an enemy is under the control of under the effects of some crowd control. Well, we're still going to take the Golem Mastery. I've switched the ultimates from Army of the Dead to Bone Storm, like I said, which is going to be really good. I still am in love with his healing and the damage reduction, but we're also going to do a little bit more damage ourselves now. I've had to get rid of these for now. I may take them back later to get some more damage on these, but hey, I don't have enough skill points for now, and I wanted to invest them somewhere else first. And then I've also switched the ultimates when we had enough skill points from Callan's Edict to Shadowblight, which is going to apply a lot of damage to the targets that are infected by our shadow skills. And then, like I showed before, that's going to be Corpse Explosion. So like I said, the playstyle is going to be our minions, like for example the Skeletal Warriors, the Reapers. They have a chance to get a corpse on the ground. A lot more abilities have the opportunity, when they lucky hit, to put a corpse on the ground with the Hued Flesh passive. That's also going to help a lot. Then we have the Skeletal Mages. They apply cold all the time. They generate essence for us. So all the time they're generating essence for us, allowing us to spam our Bone Spear more often. We don't have to generate, our minions are generating for us. And also consuming corpses generates for us. So that's going to generate a lot of essence for us, and we're going to be spamming those Bone Spears. Well, lastly, I've taken the Blood Golem with another 15% of the damage that we would take. So like I said, Decrepify is going to get a 15% buff. Reap is going to get a 15% damage reduction for us if you use it. And then of course the Blood Golem absorbs 15% of the damage we would take as well. So that also turns you into a very tanky character. One thing, so as this is mainly has been a leveling build, I am not gonna recommend like specific types of legendary aspects. That kind of stuff, you'll kind of have to use what you're gonna get. At some point I got the maximum number of Skeletal Warriors increased by 2, which has been really helpful for me. That makes this build a lot better, because you have a lot more Reapers who produce a lot more corpses, which produces a lot more Fortify. So that's really amazing. I would highly recommend it, but of course you're dependent on RNG. I also want the ones with the Skeletal Mages, because that would apply a lot more stuns, but I didn't get that. So that's something that I hope to get in the future soon. I heard that in World Tier 3 there are a lot more legendaries. Well, let's see, but that would be amazing for this build, just so you know. Then we have this one. This is also very good. The Cold Skeletal Mages, which we're using, they use a Blizzard, which continuously chills, which again is a lot more hits, bang, 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 a lot more opportunities for that lucky hit to strike. And the enemies you've decrepified, they will have a chance to stun. If those are bosses, then they will fill the stun meter really quick. This is not necessarily something to write home about. Well, this one is really good, where each time a minion damages, they get a lot more attack speed. For leveling generally, especially if you're still using the rebuild, I would recommend that you would use a two-handed weapon. That just makes it a lot more easy, it does a lot more damage. If it's a good one, then it replaces both slots at the same time. So that is going to be helpful. Later on I switched to this one for the more opportunity for another legendary effect, and then also for the casting of Corpse Explosion. So if you're reaping, then it's fine if you have a little bit lower attack speed. For Corpse Explosion it's really nice to have a higher attack speed. So that's why I went with a wand. This one is something that I also got later on. It's Shadowblight. So like I said, we're going to apply the Shadowblight, right? The ultimate Shadowblight that we have here. And then that's going to boost up a lot more damage. So if it stacks up to 5 times, then it gets to like a ridiculous degree. Like yesterday we were finalizing the final boss of the campaign. I'm not gonna spoil it with this, but we were fighting them, and at some point when they stood still, I was hitting it with all the corpse explosions. Shadowblight was stacking and stacking and stacking, and all of a sudden you can see there with the damage over time it was doing, their health was moving incredibly quickly, and they were dying really fast. It was pretty amazing. So this one is pretty good. The skeletons, as long as you have them alive, they're gonna be, getting some more damage. And this is actually one that I wanted to show you guys. It's one that you can get from the Codex of Power. So if you use the Codex of Power, you of course get the 70% attack speed. I got one natural drop, that's why I have the 82%. But if you look into your Codex of Power, while Army of the Dead is active, your minions gain like 82% attack speed. So yeah, when I was still using Army of the Dead, like I am recommending you to in the beginning of when starting to use this build, then this one is really good. It makes your minions attack really fast, which is again, you're going to be applying a lot more stuns, so that's pretty good. And yeah, I've gotten this drop multiple times, that Bone Spear applies more vulnerable to the other targets as well. Hey, let's do a quick demo on how this is gonna work. So I'm just gonna walk right out of Kyovashad, the starting city. I'm not gonna show the map, don't worry. Oh, I'm getting stuck here. So let's take a look. We have an event here, for example. Well, let's see. So we're just going to apply our things, and then as soon as it starts to generate some corpses, this is actually, so it's going to be pretty bad, this build, until you start generating corpses. Look at this, look at this. It's insane. All the corpses you're going to be generating, and then that's going to stack up. And I'm only showing the corpse explosion part now, right? Because I want to spend. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of bone spears. My essence is empty. The mages are hitting, so it's stacking up. And as soon as I explode these corpses, it's going to be more. Okay, I'm playing pretty effectively now. So let's see. We're going to apply the curse, explode the corpses under it, and they're going to die. So make it vulnerable. Make the target vulnerable with your right click. Let's see. We have more mages here. Okay, we're going to hit our storm, apply the curse, right click to apply vulnerability, and explode the corpse. This is going to be make it vulnerable, wait until there's corpses, and as soon as there are corpses, start hitting them. Let's make sure that we get this one as well, because I really want to show you guys the boss as well. This is actually something that I think they should fix. It's the corpse. The corpse stuff is pretty. The corpse explosions makes it pretty dark. So as soon as you get a corpse, make sure to explode it. Well, we're not. We're getting pretty unlucky since we're not getting a lot of corpses here. Well, you get the idea, right? So once there's some corpses, that's going to inevitably lead to a lot more corpses due to the large chance with the lucky hit chance on viewed flesh. Let's see that I find another opportunity to show this off. So, starting out initially in a fight, a little bit awkward, but as you can see, I will not hit with my bone spear, for example. As soon as you get a couple of corpses, they really start rolling, and then once you have a couple of more down, then you keep exploding them. And every time you explode one of them, it will give you some essence, which allows you to do another bone spear. Let's see, find another location, get some more enemies. So first off, we're gonna walk in, apply vulnerable with bone spear, and as soon as there are corpses, we're gonna hit them. Again, I'm not doing this effectively right now because I didn't curse them, but I did want to make sure to show you guys how it works. You can see that there's an insane amount of corpses, which is giving us an insane amount of fortify, which is giving us an insane amount of the corpse exploded blight on the ground. This is the rotation that we're looking for. Let's see that we can find another pack. And you can really see that the game has launched now, since not a lot of monsters. Everybody's killing those monsters. Good job, guys. Well, let's dive into a dungeon and take another opportunity to show how it's going. But this time I'll try to play a little bit more effectively by making sure that I curse the targets and that I use the opportunity to take them down. Of course, the Decrepify is going to also decrease our cooldown, so I'm just going to use the Bone Storm as well. Let's throw this out. So what's one of the elites was frozen. Again, it's frozen now. Our minions get low. Rather than using the corpses to explode, make sure to apply some heals and you'll see that they'll be back on top in no time. As you can see, the Bone Spear is still quite effective. We just don't want to be using a generator all the time, right? So that's why We're having the mages generate for us, including the corpse explosion generating for us. Oh, that was an elite. Goodbye, elite. I will not take this challenge on right now, because that will well, make the showing of the build a little bit less effective. Packs like these, they're also really good, because you get so many corpses. Look at this. All these corpses, right? These enemies are too weak to really show off the stacking of the build, because as you can see, as soon as you burst them, make them vulnerable with bone spear, while the heal, we're going to just be exploding corpses, which is going to stack more damage, which is going to make more corpses, which is going to stack more damage, which is going to make more corpses, which is going to stack, you guessed it, more damage. So I've been really enjoying this build so far. This is what I wanted to show you guys, and well, I hope you enjoyed this build as well. If you're enjoying Diablo 4, I hope that you really like it. I hope that you're liking this build. Let me know what you think of this. If you have some feedback, if you have some ideas on how to make it better. But these are just builds that I've been using for leveling, that I've been growing with, and then once I have a lot of skill points, I turned it into well, into this. I hope you've enjoyed.